Hi everyone, it's Diana. Sorry we're a little bit late today. I was having production and connectivity issues with the internet, so my apologies for not being here earlier. As you can tell, do not have a cat today. I have some sharks behind me. So you will see the sharks at all times because of how the camera is set up. If you don't know me, I am a solo artist. I'm a performance artist, and I use the creative arts to talk about mental health. So my background is actually in comedy and theater. I'm a playwright of a show about mental health and trauma recovery called Shattered, where I use comedy and character work to talk about the process of navigating mental health issues and picking up the broken pieces yourself after things fall apart. It's an uplifting family comedy, I always say. But it actually is quite fun. Anyway, my point is that my background is, yes, in performance, and I have some tools in my toolbox for managing mental health as a result of my own navigation of depression and anxiety. But I wanted to share with you a quick visual therapy or visual art exercise that you can do to kind of take hold of some of the big emotions that you might be experiencing right now. Sometimes those emotions are welcome emotions like tremendous joy and gratitude. Sometimes those emotions are not necessarily always welcome. They might be shame, or they might be despair, or they might be some sadness, heavier emotions. And as I've worked with various mental health professionals, they talk about the importance of being able to label our feelings, because when we label them, our mind can categorize the feelings and it can give us almost like a container for them. Because sometimes when we're feeling, it can seem very overwhelming because we might not necessarily have the language to explain them. And so that heightens the feeling of overwhelm or the feeling of out of control. But in reality, if we put if we put language to our emotions, then they're easier to navigate. So this art exercise helps you do that. Sometimes with feelings, I don't always know I don't always know the language, but if I can draw it or I can put shape to it, then it helps me to categorize in the same way as a word does. I think I don't know if you can see that, but that was one of my upcoming event notifications. It's all new technology, so we're all, just doing the best we can. But I hope you enjoy these sharks. So, what is the exercise? The exercise is very quick and simple. All you're going to do is draw your feelings as if they're weather. Your current feelings here with me in this moment, a quick snapshot of what you're thinking and feeling. Because like emotions and feelings, weather can be transitory, and it doesn't always feel that way with emotions, but they too can pass. So you need a piece of paper. You're going to want some coloring utensils. I use crayons, which is really fascinating because I don't think I've picked up crayons since I was in elementary school, but for some reason, this feels very appropriate for me. And you can use paints, you can use markers, you can even just use a pencil. I did this yesterday with my nephew, actually, and he just used a pencil. I don't know if he's allowed pens, but he used a pencil, and for him, it didn't matter the colors. Whereas for me, a lot of what I am drawing is color oriented, because I find that colors can encapsulate a number of different feelings for me and emotions when I look at certain colors. So I think I said this, but my background is not in visual arts, and I tell that to you because everybody is an artist. So everybody can do this. It does not need to be perfect. It can be as messy and meaningful or not meaningful as you want. It can, if you don't want to draw what you're feeling, that's okay too. You can draw what you would like to feel, or maybe what you miss, or maybe something that you want to remember, or maybe that's something that you want to hope for. Okay, so you are going to take your piece of paper and your coloring utensils, and we are going to quickly check in with ourselves You can check in with yourself via a body scan if you want. If bodies are something that you like to connect with through yourself. Maybe you do yoga or meditation. Some people don't like to connect with their bodies, so if that doesn't work for you, then don't do it. So to connect with your body, you just do a body scan, and you notice anywhere throughout that might hold some tension, might hold some hesitation, might hold some joy, might hold some density or heaviness. You can do that. You can just take a quick mental check and say, what am I? I'm really X at X. I'm really X for X. You could do it that way too. Or what I usually do is I usually look at my colors and I'll see which one speaks loudest to me, and not that I actually hear them speaking. I just see where my attention goes. I think sometimes with feelings and emotions, just noticing them is all it takes. It's just to say, I noticed that. I didn't know that was there. Or, yeah, that's really there right now. It might be a very potent emotion. I know we're going through a lot, and there are a lot of compound factors at work right now too. So we're going to take our, whatever method you want to check in with yourself, please do. We're going to take our piece of paper and our coloring utensils, and we are going to check in with ourselves and draw our thoughts and emotions in this current moment as if they're weather. Okay, let's draw. Oops. Where is that color? Oh, I love that one, and I'm missing it. No! Oh, there it is. Okay. It's my favorite one. Yeah, okay. Like this. Okay, and one more, just a little bit like here. Like that one. And this. This. And yep. More of that. Okay. Okay. Well, so if you need to take some more time with yours, please feel free to do that. You can also do this exercise with loved ones, and you could do it with children as well. And you could do a quick 1 minute drawing, or you can take all the time that you're able to. It's really interesting when you do it with loved ones, because you can open up conversations that you might not be able to have, and you also are able to, if you're with children, you also, or with adults, you can draw things that might give you the release and might give you some symbolism and meaning about something you're going through, but you don't necessarily have to share it. With storytelling and with what we're going through, we really can share as much as we're comfortable with. And I know with me, of course, in the arts, I feel like I have to share everything and take risks. And it's like, no, actually you don't. You share as much as you're comfortable with. And that is 100% valid. If you don't want to even draw, and you just want to come and see the silly sharks or the cat that I usually show every day, please do join me. Okay, so this is what I drew. So what was really interesting to me is that at first I picked up some blues. I really wanted to pick up blues. Actually, I started with silver. And I picked up some blues, and I just started drawing this shape. And what I had intended to draw was waves. As I was drawing the brush strokes of the crayons, as I was drawing it, I had intended to draw waves, and they were multi-layered waves. They were kind of just like broad, thick strokes. And it's interesting because these colors, one would expect, because they're blues, would be heavy, but this is actually very calming for me. It does symbolize waves, though, and I really feel like I'm just riding waves every day. And the interesting thing is that there are many colors within this. There are some yellows, there are some blues and pinks. I don't know if you can all see that, but the lighting is a little bit, the lighting goes in and out, but there are some blues and pinks, and it was waves. And I find that with emotions, if I ride them as if they're waves, as if I know that they're going to pass, as if I just let them pass, just like clouds, they don't always stay as long as if we attach them to thoughts. So if we attach them to a thought like, oh my God, I'm having panic, blah, 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 and I also use noises too often. So if you're starting to have a panic attack and you get panicked about the panic attack, a lot of times that panic attack will stay longer. Whereas if you just notice that you're having it and you just breathe through it, a lot of times emotions will pass like waves. When I'm on a plane, it's really interesting for me because I used to just I could not fly. I had too much anxiety. Whenever turbulence would come, I would literally be that person that would be just hyperventilating and crying because we were going to die. But it was just it's just a little bit of turbulence. Once I started to treat turbulence as if they're waves, as if it's just waves in the air, the same with emotions, I am able to navigate it and just pretend I'm on a boat. So, riding waves. So, with so much of what we go through, if we just reframe it, it can make it a lot more manageable. So this for me is waves. But as I was drawing it, it was really interesting because I started with just this and it started to just end about here. And for me, it started to almost bring up a period of nostalgia because it kind of looked like the tail of a pony, and I used to love My Little Ponies. My sister sent me some gift today about My Little Ponies, and so when it looks like a tail, it kind of brought up a lot of joy for me and a lot of nostalgia and the idea of family and the idea of like just that tiny little self that loved her toys, right? So that was fun. But then as I picked up another color, I picked up more of these yellows and blues, and my strokes started to go upwards. And then at that moment, for me, it almost took the shape of a bird's tail. And then as I had this, and I was like, oh, that kind of looks like a beak too. So then it kind of took the shape almost as a bird. And then I drew these little things too. And I just allowed it to take over whatever it was then. And so it went from, riding waves to childhood and nostalgia to now strength that I can rise up against everything that might be skies I have to fly through, right? And skies are not always bright. Skies can also be dark and stormy too. Although I don't know how birds must fly above. I don't know, like planes. It doesn't have to be scientifically accurate. Anyway, it took on the shape of a bird. Then I drew, at the top, I drew an orb. I've been drawing this lately. These are, this could be the sun, but it's also just a stabilizing factor within the picture, knowing that I'm being watched over. This is multi-layered because I wanted it to be. And this also kind of mimics what I was drawing yesterday with my nephew because I asked him if he wanted me to draw something to protect him within the picture, and he wanted a force field. So I asked him what colors are force fields, and he told me what colors he wanted to use. So I used those for the force field. So this picture of the orb also kind of echoes back to that time period with my nephew yesterday. And it's interesting because this portion is a darker color, it's a silver, but that for me is a core of wealth, a core of gold, even though it's silver. But it's a darker color, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a dark emotion. It doesn't have to necessarily, sometimes when I use silver, it will symbolize heaviness, but sometimes I use silver and it symbolizes a silver lining or, the pot at the end of the rainbow type thing, even though, that also is gold, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so then you probably can't see it, but I very lightly colored in clouds. I think in all honesty, I had some blank space and I felt like I needed to fill it. And if you have blank space in your picture, you don't have to fill it. Sometimes I feel that I will fill too much, and it's okay. That's just the same as people that, talk when there's silence. Just to know that you don't necessarily have to do that, I think is important. Hello, thank you for joining me. But these clouds are deconstructed and they're light and they're airy. So the clouds, also for me, I've been drawing clouds lately to symbolize sleep, because sleep is something that's been, off and on for me. I've always struggled with sleep, but especially since all this has been happening. So, and so my clouds are just kind of all around the waves or the bird or whatever it is at the moment for me. So this is what I drew today. I really hope that you will join me. I do this at 11 a.m. Pacific time-ish most days, unless I have production production fallbacks. Usually there's a cat, but today we have sharks. And I'm interested to know what you draw and how your weather looks. You don't have to necessarily just stick to weather. I clearly did not. But I wish you all the best, and please take care of your mental health during this time period. It is definitely unprecedented for all of us, I'm sure. But the more that we can find different ways to give ourselves some receptacles for those emotions, I think that'll be easier to navigate. So yeah, I wish you all good weather, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.